All right, how you doing? It's the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show, coming to you exclusively on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Don't forget our social media handles are at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is the Mike Prince Show. Our YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. That's OPEN, capital MIC, all one word, Broadcast Network. We're also on the website at obnradio.com. We have a 24-hour message line that you can dial in at any time. That number is 713-570-6736. And without any further delay, we'll jump right into today's episode. Do appreciate you guys for joining us on today as we try to bring you different perspectives, logical perspectives on the world of HBCU, in particular that of Prairie View A&M University. And of course, the Panthers are on a bye this week after their loss to Southern Jags by the score of 38-0. Next opponent will be the Alcorn State Braves, and that will be homecoming 2018 as the Panthers and Coach Dooley get prepared to take care of that. Now, there's still a lot of humming and buzzing going on about the uniform issues. I'm going to read some of your comments today. Also, a lot of people are, I guess, letting their true emotions take over right now, on the plus and the negative side, and we'll address a little bit of that today as well. But I just want to remind you that Saturdays you can listen to the Carlos Brown Show live here on the network from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Of course, we come to you weekdays at 10 a.m., and we're truly excited and proud about the build-up and the lineup that we have for you here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Want to jump right into some of your comments and your questions and concerns. Some of you feel that this was an unjust done toward Prairie View in regards of being penalized, the loss of a timeout. Now, mind you, that was the only infraction or the only sanction that they really had administered to them was the loss of a timeout. But it's interesting to see how wide across the spectrum some of the opinions were in regards. One of the things that people were screaming, hey, I couldn't hardly see Southern's uniforms numbers with their contrasting of the Columbia blue on the white. And it may have been the case, but as my mother always taught me, I can't worry about what other folks do. I have to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And if we take care of that, then we can't, fathom one way or another. Some people feel like this was too heavy of a blow. We lost a timeout. They didn't take any points off the board, not that we had any on the board to take off, but they took a timeout. And then when the backdoor facts began to unfold, there were some signs of insubordination. And at some point, we all got to follow rules. We all got to say yes, even when we don't want to say yes. It's called life. So we really and truly, we need to accept the fact that that was a lackluster performance. Hopefully that will be the last lackluster performance for this season at least. And we got to try to move forward. I'm going to read a couple of these comments. And instead of me calling the person's name out, because I give you the opportunity to dial the voice message line and you can leave your comments. You can even leave it anonymously, or you can have the opportunity to leave your name. But because you didn't say your name, but you did put it, I'm just going to read and I'll give some initials. I'll create some initials for you. This first one is going to come from EP. And EP says this: I'm not saying that uniforms are why we lost, but it sure was a momentum killer and a strange way to start a game off. Mr. Mitchell could have handled this a lot better than what he and his crew did. Okay, I'm going to first address the fact that Mr. Mitchell and his crew could have handled it a little bit different. And some people even gone as far to say, why do people in the press box need to be able to see the numbers as long as they can see them down on the field? And part of that is twofold. You have to be able to see the numbers from the press box, A, for official statting purposes, and then B, for just being able to recognize who's who. So that's part of the importance for that. And I don't know if people understand the role that Mr. Mitchell has. He's the head official of the entire conference. And if he, according to the NCAA ruling, if he determines that he can't see the numbers, and he being the top dog of the officials, he has every say-so within his jurisdictional right. So I don't understand that. And then to address the part that it was a momentum killer. EP, I don't know how that was a momentum killer when there was not even a play started. There was not one that there was a kickoff, and after the further discussion and determination that he couldn't read the numbers, it was radioed down, stop play, let them know what's going to happen, and as a result, you can continue on. And here's the caveat for me. Once again, what I witnessed for myself, it was brought up, that it was discussed, and highly recommended that you do not come out in those particular uniforms. They came out in those uniforms anyway. And as a result, Mr. Mitchell felt that if that's how they just want to push the envelope, then you're leaving me no choice. It's not too big of a deal that we went back and changed uniforms. So if we start out and change and comply to begin with, I understand that you thought that you may have had the proper uniform on because you did and didn't get the official letter from the NCAA. But you can always fight that fight a later date. Comply to what the man is saying. Let's move on. And if that is going to be considered a momentum killer, to me that sounds like an excuse. That sounds like an excuse because I don't remember when the uniform made a tackle. I don't remember when the uniform completed a pass. I don't remember when the uniform ran the ball. That was an excuse. I have another one that I'm going to read, and this one is from BG. And BG says Mr. Mitchell was not on the officiating crew and should not had any say in the decision on this call. PV was never warned in any of the games in their uniforms in the season thus far. So, once again, BG, The official ruling says that the numbers must be contrast, and the numbers must pass the litmus test of the officiating crew. Once again, to respond and piggyback on of what we responded to EP, Mr. Mitchell is over all of the officiating throughout the Southwestern Athletic Conference. BG goes on to say that while he's worried about uniforms, he needs to make sure that his crews are making the proper plays and stop making all these bad calls. And I can attest to that too. But once again, when we result to officials determining the outcome of a game, I think we're making excuses. Let's just fess up. We had a bad week. It happens. Did I want to see it happen in that manner? Absolutely not. But it happens. And we can't continue to say it's somebody else's fault while we're not executing. We have to remember this. This is a performance-driven sport, job, atmosphere. And if you're not doing what you were hired to do, then you don't make excuses, you make adjustments, and you move on. How did we allow some uniforms to become the front story? I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. Goes back to my original thoughts. I'm all for the quote-unquote fresh looks. But let's go back to the primary colors. Let's get some block numbers. If the kids want to look good, let's make sure they're performing on the field. You can't look no better than that. You cannot look no better than that. We had 5 turnovers in the game. That's not a uniform issue. That was a performance issue. And we have to address that. We have to make sure that we overcome those things. One good thing about it, we only had 3 penalties for, I think, 24 yards. That was something that was of concern. That was addressed. Now, Southern had 40 minutes and 54 seconds time of possession compared to our 19 minutes and 56 seconds. That's not a uniform issue. That's a performance issue. Those are the things that we have to address. We have a bye week, and the bye week is a time for us to have a man in the mirror moment. Let's examine ourselves. Let's see what we can do to make things better. We have to make sure that we're adjusting during the flow of a game. You could have an executed game plan. If it's not working, then you got to go back to the drawing board and figure that thing out on the fly. Those are the adjustings that need to be addressed. And I'm quite sure that the Ghost and his crew are doing their due diligence as we speak right now. So let's not get too indulged in this thing. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Still got a lot of football left. We have made the road extremely difficult, and it's our own fault for that. There was no one else's fault but our fault. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. You're listening to the Mike Prince Show. We come to you weekdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. The website, of course, is obnradio.com. I'm patiently waiting to hear from the newly assigned athletic director, Mr. Fred Washington. I've put in a request I'm still awaiting the call, if you would, and hopefully we can get him on the show very, very soon. Also waiting to hear from our illustrious president, Dr. Ruth Simmons. And it's not a dog pile on the rabbit. I've been trying to get these interviews for quite some time now. As a matter of fact, Dr. Simmons, I've been going on since August 15, 2017. I was told that her schedule is jam-packed all the way through October, but I'm going to be patient. As I mentioned, I've been trying to make sure that I hear from Mr. Fred Washington's staff that we could solidify our interview date. So I'm going through the proper channels. I've even asked for some allies to help me see that one through. But we're going to continue to be patient. And we're going to continue to root for Prairie View. One thing about it that I want you all to know is that my love, dedication, and devotion is not wavered at all. And come rain, sleet, snow, or shine, I'm going to be there to represent thy purple and gold. One thing about it, and I find out there's a different type of response that you get from those who actually played for the university and those who attended the university. And I understand that. Some of us that just attended the university, we say, okay, I got you, yeah. Well, if you've played for the university, some of your residue still exists on whatever field it was you had, whatever department you were in, because you put your blood, sweat, and tears. And that's the passion, that's the motivation, that's the driving mechanism, at least for me, that keeps me going every day. And some of you may not ever understand that. I don't expect you to understand that. But it then also lets me understand and see why you might feel that Brother Prince somewhat seems to be unfair. But I'm not being unfair at all. We were driven. We were conditioned that it was all for one, all for Prairie View, and Prairie View for all. And what are we going to do? We're going to fight like hell to win. What are we going to do? We're going to fight like hell to win. When we were wearing mismatched uniforms and everything else, we went out there and represented to the very best of our abilities. And so when I see the opportunity has come where expectations are high, yes, it's always going to be about students graduating. That's why they come. It's going to always be about winning consistently in the classroom and outside the classroom. So when we miss the mark and we have the expectations, let's not get so sensitive to where we're taking these things personal, because it's never personal. It's all about thy purple and gold. And if that's what we stay focused on, then there's a thing that we call constructive criticism. You can constructive criticize a student athlete. You can constructive criticize a student. Why can't coaches and staff be constructive criticized or constructively criticized? We have to be balanced, and we have to be open to receive and give in whichever manner it comes. I get it. I know there are people who don't care for Mike Prince. I hope and pray I've done nothing personally to you, but you're entitled to feel the way you feel. It's not going to stop me from firing up this microphone and laying out the truth as I know it. Right is right, and it's going to always be right. I'm out of time right now, and I must exit stage left. Want to remind you that our 24-hour message line is 713-570-6736. You can dial in, leave your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, whatever it is that's on your mind and on your heart, and we'll get it out there for you. Don't forget the YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network, the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook handle is at The Mike Prince Show. And of course, our website is obnradio.com. I am the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince, and until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.